Right now, more important than ever, the first two rules of marketing. Be known as the expert.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
Hello. Welcome, everybody. Dustin Harris hanging out once again on the podcast treadmill. That's the official name of it. It is not just a treadmill. It is a podcast treadmill. Good to be back with you. It's been a while since I've done a recording, and I've had a long weekend. I took Monday off, and it is Tuesday, and I will be honest with you, I kind of drug myself into work today. When I pulled into my parking lot at the office, I thought, do I want to go to work today? We all have days like that, right? I really do love what I do. I do. Most of the time I am doing coaching. Some of the time I'm doing education for True Footage, and other times I'm working on Airbnb stuff. And I love what I do. And I love the fact that I can bounce back and forth between jobs. I love that because I've got ADD. I'm not diagnosed, but self-diagnosed. And it's nice to be able to have a lot of things to do. But I'm like anybody else, right? I have those days. I tell my clients that 82% of the time you need to be on your game. 82% of the time. That means 18% I can have a crappy day, and that will be okay. I'll tell you what will not have you having a crappy day, and that is working with software that is amazing, and Total is that software. So Total is a sponsor here, alamode.com or 800 Alamode, and of course your E&O has your back. It'll help you to have a better day because you don't have to worry about problems when it comes to support from your insurance company. E&O with benefits. It's orep.org, OREP.org. All right, folks. Want to talk today a little bit about a question that I see frequently on the interwebs, and that is appraisers saying, okay, finally, I'm going to break down and do it, right? Many of us have been slow, and things are challenging, difficult. By the way, I did a webinar this morning on how some appraisers are doing better this year than last. And I went into great detail on my all-star team. That is recorded. You are welcome to go there, join the team, and watch that. We went into some real meat and potatoes as far as what appraisers are doing to stay busy. But some appraisers, a few of you out there, are struggling, and some of you are having challenges and difficulties. And one of the things that you are looking at is private work, and specifically going to clients that might be repeat customers, such as real estate agents. Now, I've been very clear over the years that I don't see real estate agents typically as direct clients. Every once in a while, I'll get maybe a pre-listing appraisal or something similar to that, but most of the time, I call agents connectors, right? These individuals spend their life connecting people together. That's their job. Most people think it's to sell real estate. It's to make connections between relationships. It's to make relationships, connect people, relationships. Let me give you an example. It is not uncommon among my real estate agent friends, okay, on the sales side, for individuals to tell me all the time that they are kind of the go-to expert. They don't say this in a braggy way. They just say that, hey, people come to us frequently for information. They think that agents, they think that agents know it all. And some of you agents do. We'll just ask you. But people come to agents typically because, if it has something to do with a house or a property or the market or, really anything, they think, hey, if there's anybody that's connected to the bigger community, it's agents. For example, I remember just recently asking my agent friend, we were doing a remodel on our kitchen, and we were looking for somebody to do our kitchen cabinets. And I reached out to my agent friend who happens to live down the street, and I said, hey, give me some suggestions. Who do you recommend for cabinets? Now, she's a real estate agent. Some people would say, well, what in the world? Why would you go to a real estate agent? Well, first of all, she's built, a couple of houses. So she's got that side as well. But even without that, I don't know. I think psychologically, I just think, okay, an agent is connected with builders. An agent understands that market, and if there's anybody that could have a recommendation, it would be an agent. And I don't think that I'm alone. In fact, I know I'm not alone in that. And so often what happens is we don't get direct work from agents. Typically we get indirect work from agents. In other words, we get agents, we get work as appraisers from agents who are connecting people. Hey, Bob, I'm going through a divorce. Unfortunately, you've always been there for me, man. We bought the house from you 3 years ago. Looks like we might be selling it or splitting up the proceeds or what have you. Who do you recommend as an appraiser? Okay. So rather than going to Google, as normal people would, they go to their agent friend and they say, hey, who do you recommend? Because they would rather have a recommendation from somebody that they know and trust than to go directly to Google and just get somebody with the highest reviews. So as such, I've always been a proponent of speaking to agencies. Okay. What I mean by that is setting up opportunities for yourself to be in front of a crowd, specifically a Century 21 crowd or a Remax crowd or an ERA crowd, or you name it. You name the company, right? Your goal is to get in front of real estate agents in their brokerage or at an MLS meeting or what have you. Now, this is not new information. If you've been listening to this program for any number of years, you know that this is a topic that we bring up frequently. But today, I wanted to take a little bit of a twist, if you will. I wanted to change a little bit because I am seeing that convincing appraisers to speak in front of agents is no longer my lot in life. I don't need to do that anymore. The market has done that for me, okay? In other words, I have been recommending, suggesting, pushing you, kicking you in the ass to get out there and speak in front of realtors for many, many years. And it has taken a dramatic slowdown in the marketplace to get people to finally say, you know what, maybe I need to do that. I'm not a speaker. I don't see myself as a public speaker. It scares me to death. But I better get out there and speak in front of realtors because I think it's important. It really goes down to what I call marketing 101, right? The number one rule of marketing is be known. Number two rule of marketing is be known as the expert, right? Be known and be known as the expert. That is the key. People need to know your name. Appraisers, you need to be known by real estate agents. When someone goes to Bob and says, Bob, I'm going through a divorce. I need to get an appraisal. Who do you recommend? The very first name on their lips should be your name. They should know you because they see you frequently. We talked today in the webinar about realtor touches, okay, or contacts that you might make, whether it be through email, whether it might be through text, whether it might be through video messaging, whether it might be in person. Hello. Getting in front of those agents is absolutely essential. Okay, so let's say we're over that hump. You've already decided, okay, Dustin, I get it. I need to speak in front of real estate agents. I get it. What in the world should I speak on? And that's the next big question, right? What topic should I bring? This often comes in the interwebs after the date has been set, right? You've done the work. You put yourself out there as a quote unquote expert. You've said, hey, can I come speak to your agency? And they say, yes. What would you like to speak on? And then it's like, oh, wait a second, I got to have a topic. I guess I should have had that up front. I want to share with you a few of the successful topics that I have had personally and or my clients have had personally as well. But want to do so after the break. First, I want to pause and remind you that we have sponsored by a great company called A La Mode. A La Mode, of course, makes my life much easier because of all of the built-in tools. We were talking about those tools this morning on our micro mentoring section in the All-Star team. Somebody asked about the sketching program that A La Mode just came out with. Absolutely amazing, folks. It is spectacular, some of the things that this can do. AlaMode.com is where you learn more. AlaMode.com, or pick up the phone, call them at 800-ALA-MODE. Had dinner with my good friend, Mr. Isaac Peck, who is the chief editor at Working RE Magazine. He also, of course, heads up OREP Insurance. They are a sponsor here, both Working RE and OREP. Sure appreciate them. I sure appreciate, I tell you folks, I came away from that dinner just knowing here is a good guy doing his very utmost best for the appraisal world. That's who you want in your back pocket when it comes to E&O. You want somebody who understands appraisers, who gets appraisers, and who has your six. Check it out by going to orep.org. Again, it's OREP.org. All right, folks, welcome back. Dustin Harris hanging out in the podcast, on the podcast treadmill today. We're talking about speaking in front of realtors and what topics should you choose. I'm going to give you some very specific topics today. I've got them right here on my little notepad. But before I do so, I want to just give some general advice, okay? And the general advice, and you'll see this when I give the specific topics. Don't worry about the content. Okay, now I know that sounds crazy, right? Somebody's going to take time out of their day to sit down in a conference room and listen to some schmuck appraiser talk. They're going to care about the content, okay? I get that, right? But I also will say this. I don't know what it is, but there is this weird fascination that agents have with appraisers. They don't get us. We are different. We are weird. We are strange. We are confusing. And any opportunity, this has been my experience, any opportunity an agent has to pick the brain of an appraiser, they will take advantage of that, right? Whether it's a lunch and learn, whether it's a specific evening class or an afternoon class or what have you, I find that agents take time to listen to appraisers. And I think what it is, in fact, I'm pretty sure of this. I think what it is you've got agents that have had some challenges, have had some difficulties when it comes to appraisals. In other words, they have had problems that they didn't understand, and either they need to vent, and I know that might seem intimidating to you, but stick with me, or they simply want to be educated. They want to understand what's going on, right? Why did my deal fall apart? And that brings me to the principle and then some of the specific topics that I would suggest for you that you put together. The principle is this, right? Just talk about what you know that they don't. How do I know, Dustin? How do I know what they don't know? Well, my biggest piece of advice is pay attention to what they ask you. It is not unusual, as you all know, to go out into an appraisal inspection and meet the agent there, whether you want to or not, whether it's planned or not. We frequently, I would say weekly, I run into an agent. They made a specific trip out there. They wanted to hand me a stack of papers, or they wanted to be there for their buyers, or whatever it is, right? But often I am face-to-face with agents, and I can't remember the last time I was with an agent that they did not ask at least one question. Folks, pay attention to the questions that are being asked, and even more importantly, pay attention to the questions that are being asked over and over and over again. What you will find is that these questions are the same things, right? Meaning if one agent has the question, multiple agents have the same question. These are great questions that you can now bring in front of a group of real estate agents. The same questions that you get in a house when they ask you these questions, right, you will get in front of agents, or would be a great topic in front of agents later on for a presentation. Okay, let me give you a couple of these. In fact, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 today. And by the way, you can do a combo of these as well. But before I get into the details, I want to share this as well. Do not waste a lot of time developing an hour-long presentation. I have never been able to get through an hour-long presentation with a set of real estate agents. Typically what happens is I will bring about a 15-minute presentation, and I'm not joking about that, maybe even 5, which will simply open up the floor for many questions that they will pepper you with. That's really what they want. The Q&A is what they want. In fact, if you don't want to bring a topic at all, I promise you, you will have success with simply saying that ask the appraiser, right? My next visit to the RE/MAX office is going to be an hour long, ask the appraiser, right? Now, maybe you want to solicit those questions ahead of time, what have you, doesn't matter. But simply having a Q&A will be enough draw for most agents to want to be there. So simply paying attention to what they ask you on a regular basis is typically the types of discussions that I would have in front of a group of agents. For example, I often get asked about, chipping and peeling paint, right? Why did the appraiser call out chipping and peeling paint? What a great topic to start a discussion about FHA, VA, what the difference between a conventional loan and an FHA loan is. Boring, Dustin. Why would anybody want to hear about that? Because, folks, these are the things these are what they're dealing with. These are their frustrations, right? They had this deal. They were ready to go. The appraiser showed up, and all of a sudden the kibosh was in place because the damn appraiser pulled out the chipping peeling paint card, right? And the idea is their frustration comes from a lack of information. You can be that expert. You can be the one that says, listen, this isn't me. Some of you say you've never had an appraiser call out chipping, peeling, but come on, really? This is straight from VA. This is straight from FHA. Let's go to the handbook. Let's talk about what this means and why we as FHA appraisers have to call these things out, right? That's the key here, is that you are educating, not in a combative or a holier than thou way, but in a way that basically says, well, listen, I have some information to share with you. I want to share with you some information, and let me do that. Okay. So FHA, VA, not necessarily just with chipping, peeling paint, but a topic such as, how is FHA different than conventional, right? Or what does the appraiser do on an FHA loan that he wouldn't do on a conventional loan? Something like that, I guarantee, will draw people into your talk. Okay. I love the idea of price per square foot. Okay. I've spoken on this multiple times. I've spoken about it here on the podcast, that sometimes I will use the analogy of price per square foot is like buying a car per pound, right? And how those things are similar, how they're different as well, but how that's a great analogy. Okay. Why price per square foot is not the best way to value a home. Speaking of, the third topic that I would give you is, how do you price a home? Now, I know that price and value are different. That could be part of your conversation, but the topic on the table, remember, we're talking to agents here. I think a topic like how to price a home properly, and you could even add in the Cincinnati market or whatever market that you're in, okay, I guarantee that will get eyeballs. I guarantee people will want to be in that meeting, and that's what you're going for, is a topic that is on their mind, something they want to learn, something they want to remember. Your greatest commodity, as my good friend Mr. Blaine Fine says often, your greatest commodity is your time, right? And it's no different for them. To spend an hour with you is going to take some sacrifice. So you've got to make it worth their while. You've got to share with them things that they really want to hear. And talking about how to price a home, again, talking about the difference between price and value, but still similarities, right? How to price a home is a great topic that brings people in. Speaking of great topics, everybody wants to know about the market. How is the local market doing? And I would use the local market name, right? How is the market doing? How is the real estate market doing in Boise, Idaho? That's a perfect topic to present to your real estate agent friends. I promise you, it will get people in the door, okay? The other two that I will give you is how to read a real estate appraisal. Again, sounds technical, sounds boring. I would not get into a lot of details, right? These are just openers for the Q&A, right? But helping them to understand how to look through an appraisal, what's important, what's not, right? I think sometimes they get pretty caught up in the detail. I'll give you an example, right? How often do you get a call and they talk about the cost approach and they want to go into detail, and they think that by changing, if you'll just change this one number in the cost approach, it'll make all the difference in the world, right? And again, cost approach is important, but is it really the most important thing when it comes to the value of that particular home? Again, something you can talk about. And then finally, my favorite topic, and I've used this over and over and over again, and stay with me, I'm going to give you the name, which is a little bit of clickbait. Okay, that's the purpose. But the whole topic is about correcting the clickbait. Okay, you see what I'm saying? What I'm about to say as the topic, you're all going to go, oh, Dustin, you can't talk about, that's not the way we talk about things, right? That's the whole point, right? Get them in the door and then talk about what this actually means. And the topic, of course, is, what do you do when you get a bad appraisal? Or what do you do when you get a low appraisal? Okay. I don't like those words either, but that's the whole point, is I can stand in front of them and say, what is a bad appraisal? What is a low appraisal? Is a low appraisal always equal to a bad appraisal, right? And we can talk about what it actually means and what do you do about it, right? Every agent has had this experience where they have had an appraisal done. It came in below purchase price and they didn't know what to do next. What's my next step? What can I do? Well, guess what, folks? You can teach them what the next steps are. And you can do so in a friendly way, in a professional way that is making connections with them. But essentially, folks, what this is all about is opening up the door of communication so that you can spend time in the Q&A. Trust me, mark my words. Do not prepare a 45-minute discussion or a 45-minute presentation. I promise you, you will not get through it. I promise you it will be boring, okay? Do a 15, a 10, a 5-minute presentation, and then open it up for Q&A. Well, Dustin, what if they ask me questions I don't know? Good. Guess what? If they ask you a question you don't know, that only gives you an opportunity for a further touch, right? A further contact to say, that is a great question, Marge. I actually don't know the answer to that, but I'm going to find out and I'm going to get back to you. And I promise I'll get back to you by Friday, and then do it. Guess what? Not only did you have connection with Marge in the conference room, but now you had connection with Marge on Thursday afternoon when you called her and said, hey, Marge, remember when you asked that question? I now have an answer for you. Guess what? She has seen you twice that week. How cool is that? And you did her a favor because you answered her call, right? Now, I will tell you this. Most of the time, Marge is not going to ask you a question that you don't know. Trust me on this, right? Appraisers get freaked out when it comes to speaking in front of agents because they think they're going to be asked that question that they don't know the answer to. And I'm telling you, folks, if you feel that way, you should never go to an appraisal inspection. When was the last time you were in an appraisal inspection and they asked you a question that you didn't know the answer to? My guess is it's been a very long time. These questions that they ask are the same questions that they're going to be asking in a presentation as well. Okay. And again, the fallback is if you don't know the answer, there is nothing wrong at all, nothing unprofessional with saying, I don't know the answer to that. That is an excellent question, but I promise to get back to you. What is your phone number? And I will call you by the end of the week and I'll get back with you with the answer to that question. Folks, I will tell you right now, more important than ever, the first two rules of marketing: be known as the expert. There is a great way to do that, and that is get out in front of real estate agents and talk to them, talk with them, share a presentation and a Q&A. I promise you it will pay, maybe not that day. You're not going to walk out of there with 5 appraisals in your back pocket, right? But you're starting to build those relationships that when they need an appraiser, when your neighbor across town is getting a divorce and needs an appraiser, and goes to that agent and says, who would you suggest? They're going to remember the individual who stood in front of them 2 weeks ago and gave a presentation to their office. Thank you for joining me today, folks. Again, if you are interested in the webinar that we did just this morning on how, and by the way, the podcast comes out several weeks after it's recorded. So when I say this morning, when you look on my website, you'll see that, there's probably another webinar in front of it. We do one once a month. But as a member of the All-Star team, you have access to all of the back webinars, including the one that we talked about today, why some appraisers are doing better this year than they did last, right? What to do, the little things. We talked about 5 different specific things that you can be doing to increase your business. Thank you for joining me today, folks, and go create some value.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.